Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Zach. In this video, of course, we're looking at the Ukraine-Russia crisis. Of course, some horrible, tragic things are happening right now. We have been seeing this over the past roughly 5 days, close to, I would assume. In this video specifically, we're going to be looking at how crypto is hopefully being used to support the people of Ukraine during this really difficult time. As we can see right here, Ukraine tweeted out not very long ago, "Stand with the people of Ukraine," now accepting cryptocurrency donations. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT. Bitcoin address and Ethereum ERC20 addresses are shown here. Now, of course, to be very clear, nothing is financial advice. I'm not sure how this would be constituted as financial advice, but just to make very clear. However, of course, you can see these addresses right here. I'll be putting these addresses in the description or in the comments, one of the two. We have, of course, seen people wondering, is this hacked or not? We also have Mikhailo Fedorov, I'm sorry if I had the name wrong, standing with the people of Ukraine, now accepting cryptocurrency donations, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Tether. And you have the addresses right here. This is from the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine and Minister of Digital Transformation. Even if you type any of these addresses in, before you do so, make sure, of course, that you find the tweets yourself so that you can double check them. Please do not use my video to have a look at the addresses specifically, at least to verify, of course, where you are sending money. Of course, if you're in the Web3 space, you will know that you cannot take that back. It's not like a bank. You cannot take that back. Once it is gone, you can't get it back. But of course, if you do want to help out for the cause, then that is that. And Vitalik has even written down, because some people have been sort of confused, saying, getting some confirmation from a couple of sources that it's legit, deleting my warning from now, but continue to be vigilant and always be slow and careful when sending irreversible crypto transactions. This is in response to Tomikar Tillman writing, to follow up on Vitalik Butrin's tweet, I've confirmed directly with Ukrainian ambassador Oleg Sherba that the addresses are correct and in the control of the Ukrainian government. Defending free and open societies may be the best thing we ever do with our ETH. And of course, this is very important and very interesting to see. Of course, crypto enthusiasts have long been waiting for a moment where we need to use cryptocurrency's advantages to really put the power in people's hands, right? And so, of course, it is great to see that hopefully that can be worked out. Also looking at some more news regarding cryptocurrencies and Ukraine, because we have seen that more than 5 million USD has been donated to Ukraine in Bitcoin. I wanted to find this video on CoinDesk because this is a CoinDesk video. We're going to be reacting to it. I'm not sure why, but I can only find it on the Telegraph, which is a bit odd. I looked on CoinDesk's website on the news channel and no sign of this video that I could see, at least. With that said, let's have a look at what they're talking about here when it comes to the aid that people are able to send via Bitcoin.
So we have a large amount of Bitcoin, I think over $700,000 when we were reporting, which is probably gone up by now, that is nominally going to aid Ukraine's military, which, to be clear, Ukraine, a large country, but certainly smaller and less well defended than Russia, and now the target of aggression.
Now, also keep in mind, right, that when they're talking about the military aid, what we need to also keep in mind is we're not sure where this money is necessarily going towards. It is, of course, most likely going to the Ukrainian government, and where that will, of course, be shared, etc. We're not quite sure right now. So the other things to keep in mind is, when you obviously donate to charity, for example, there's like a portfolio of things that they say that they're going to do with that charity. Oftentimes they give you a breakdown of where the revenue goes, etc. Well, we don't have that here. So that's something to keep in mind. If you don't know where it's going, or if you want to know where it's going, and that's the only way that you're going to send some money over, then that is that, and you won't be able to, because you won't know where this specifically is going, apart from the fact, of course, that it's going to Ukraine, which, yes.
There are a few things to note about this. First of all, again, to mark the difference between the networks and services built on top of them, this, to my understanding, is a native Bitcoin wallet that is collecting donations. So it's really sort of impossible to stop those from moving around on Bitcoin, in contrast to the ability of a centralized aggregator to cut off Ethereum mining access. The second thing, and I don't know whether there have been updates on this story, but there is some uncertainty about exactly where that money is going, and I think that's an important thing. We see some fundraisers being mounted by known entities. There is a newspaper in Kiev that is raising funds, and so I think it's important to keep in mind that even though these networks are open, reputation matters when you're somebody who's trying to raise funds for a specific purpose, so that people can be certain that their money is actually, going where it says it is. So Jen, I saw your hand. You want to jump on here?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the Patreon angle of this story. So before we had people donating to this Bitcoin wallet, they were donating via Patreon, which is a platform where people can donate funds. It's like GoFundMe, but there's also creators who publish content on the platform, and they can get donations. And that was shut down by the platform because the terms and conditions say that funding for any military or war is prohibited. And this brought me back, while the situation was definitely not as severe or dire, to the situation in Canada with GoFundMe and the truckers. And I think that everything that's going on in the world, and this probably started in 2020 with the pandemic, is really forcing people to open their eyes and look at what's going on. And it's really, really hitting people at home. I think before this, even if someone were to say last week to look at the terms and conditions, they would say, well, that makes sense. Why would you want to fund a military or terrorist organization? Those are the bad guys. And I think in this situation, we're seeing it's not always the bad guys, and the bad guys can be defined in a lot of different ways. And so I think that this is, teaching a lot of people a lot of really valuable lessons in a really horrible way. And I just have one more point to add. During the pandemic, when India was raising crypto funds for relief, there was a problem with off-ramping the crypto and actually getting it to the people who needed it. And so I don't know, David, if you have any insight as to how this Bitcoin is going to actually be turned into cash to get it to people who need it the most, or do we know anything about that?
I think we can get to that, but Naomi might have had a point before.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to talk about what you were saying, Jen. It's so confusing.
It's hard.
What you were saying about Patreon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think right now across the globe, as you mentioned, and it started probably 2020, we're seeing the best advertisements for decentralized money that could possibly exist. I mean, we've got war, we've got inflation, we've got payment blockades, we've got all these things that would push people towards a system that isn't controlled by an elite few, something that allows people to have full ownership over their money and not have to ask permission in order to send it to someone else or access it. And it's just so important that we have these lessons, and it's so sad, right? I mean, I wish that it didn't take people being personally affected by this or seeing, real use cases right before their eyes start to unfold for them to start to see the value. But unfortunately, I mean, human beings have a lot of trouble seeing far off use cases for things that don't immediately touch their lives. But right now, I mean, Ukraine news is everywhere in our feeds, in the news cycle, wherever we look. And so it's hard to not be touched by the stories that are coming out of there. I mean, Canada, again, just across the border. I'm just
going to skip ahead because I want to hear what he has to say about liquidating Bitcoin, because I actually want to get this video out as soon as possible, because I also want to, I'm hoping, I make these videos also to help and see if maybe this video might reach people that the tweet didn't. So let's see when we get to him talking again about hopefully liquidating. What she's saying has a lot of importance, but I want to get down to
I'm very interested to see this economy that can't be shut down.
I don't have a lot of detailed insight into how, for example, Ukrainian exchanges are dealing with things right now. Importantly, they are not facing any cutoff from global finance. So, if they need dollars, they still have access to that. But I think one important thing to keep in mind is that this is a situation where you wouldn't necessarily need off-ramping. I mean, we have a robust international market for Bitcoin that sets a price that can be used anywhere, whether or not you're actually selling it for that price or not. And so especially in a situation like what's going on in Ukraine right now, you can absolutely imagine people simply transacting in Bitcoin for, major purchases or, relief funds or anything like that. So I think that's an interesting and important thing to keep in mind. Second point, just to follow up on what Naomi said about the kind of awakening that's happening right now. I think it is good, but I think it's important also, and some people have made this point, it is notable that the Canadian truckers and the attacks on Ukraine have been such a catalyst, when very similar things have been happening across the world to different populations. I would point out mostly non-white populations for years, and people have not been attentive to those problems. So
And I think what again, like what's interesting here is that, you know, people were saying that the Canadian trucker protest is going to be more eye-opening and a bigger use case offering than any sort of McDonald's ad that, of course, we saw Elon and McDonald's looking at. With that being said, of course, Ukraine needing every bit of help it needs right now, it's just amazing that we can hopefully see now this technology being used for something that is so meaningful and impactful. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. I want to say every time, especially when we make a video regarding this case, is just hopes and prayers. I know that doesn't do a lot, but hopes and prayers for the people of Ukraine going through such a tragic conflict at the moment. And with that being said, for everything happening in the Web3 space, whether it's crypto, NFT, or metaverse news, this is a channel Web3 going on. Everything on that list, if you want to be up to date, subscribe to this channel for everything happening. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you in the next Web3 video.